Welcome, everybody, to the HubSpot user group event as part of our From SEO to AEO webinar series. This is how to turn webinars into an AI visibility engine with HubSpot AEO. Super excited about this session today. A lot of you have been to similar sessions. A lot of you have actually connected for sessions that are about AEO. Some of you connected for sessions that are about using video. I'm putting it all together and also sharing the latest of our tests and connecting it all to HubSpot AEO, how we're using video and webinars to build multi-channels AEO strategies and then track it through HubSpot AEO. So we'll talk about that. We'll do the recording and the slides later with the email recap. So if anybody misses anything, all of this will be sent on your emails. Like I said, please let us know if you are connecting, where you're connecting from, your name, your location. Also, I'm going to share right here my information. Many of you know me already, but whomever doesn't know me, I'm Gabriel Marguglio. I'm the CEO and founder of Nextiny Marketing. We are a 24-year-old HubSpot solution partner. We specialize in everything HubSpot, from website design only in HubSpot CRM implementations, AI-powered marketing and sales, and of course, answer engine optimization. We started 24 years ago, almost 25, as an SEO agency and websites. And now, over our history, we've done so much that brought us to becoming the quintessential AEO agency in the HubSpot community. And we want to continue to not only help our clients, but educate and empower everybody that connects with us through the HubSpot user groups. So we are here to help. Anything you need, let us know. We have a guide. Speaking of helping, if you want to do this yourself, there's a guide you can download for free on our website, and that guide will tell you everything you need to know to start transitioning from SEO to AEO, how to run your own AEO audit. We have a bunch of articles that I'm going to share throughout the presentation that allow you to learn everything you need to learn and connect from there. Someone from Kenya in Africa. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you for connecting from all over the world. Super excited about that. So you can download that AEO guide whenever you want to start this doing yourself, or if you want to learn more about it. Now, we also have an AEO audit, and we have a 50% off special for mid-July to mid-August. This is our summer special. We always try to get people to do things in the summer because everybody's taking vacations. So how about we get some people to do some AEO audits, and then we get you ready to go for the fall. So you're already rocking and rolling with a strategy with everything you need, and you fix your website, your content strategy, and everything you need. So if you guys are interested, I just shared the link for the 50% off HubSpot AEO SEO audit to make sure that you can start doing this right away. All right, so enough of us. We run these events twice a month at least. And I'm going to share right here all the recordings that we have from past events. You can actually watch the recordings from all the events right here. And then also you can register for our next events directly in there. We also have another event in July 29. This one's about HubSpot AEO, what we've learned comparing ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity, and how they are different about brand visibility, and some of the things that we've seen if you're trying to optimize for one of them or the other one, some of the specific ways that they build the answers that we have seen with all of our clients. So that's a pretty cool one. We have a lot of people connected on that one already. So super excited about that. And again, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, including right now, let me know. If there's anything you want to see today or talk about today, please let me know. I'm going to be following the chat and trying to answer as many people as possible. As you can see today, as you will see today on this very webinar, this is a very meta comment. We are using webinars to fuel our AEO strategy. So the best thing you can do today is ask questions, because those questions become part of our content strategy that will help us with our own AEO. So please, the more questions you ask, that means the more humans that actually interacted in this webinar, and the more humans that interact and the more human conversations we have, the better. You'll see as we go through this workshop why this comment makes sense for today. So please ask questions. Today we're talking about how AI is redefining client acquisition. We'll do a quick review. I know everybody is getting up to date with this, but there's some things to discuss. How to influence what AI says about you, because that's one of the most important things. Is like, okay, great, we run an AI audit, we're fixing our website, we're starting multi-channel. How do we actually change the way AI thinks about us? How do we actually control the narrative as much as possible on what AI thinks and says about us? How do we get trusted signals for AI so they trust our content? And there's consensus and all that stuff. We'll talk about why video is good for AI discovery. I would even say why video is the best for AI discovery. We'll talk about how to use webinars as a source of AI content. We'll talk about how to optimize videos for AEO specifically, and then how to use HubSpot AEO to measure AI brand visibility and success on all of this. So again, let me know if you have any questions while you're connecting. I'm going to start quickly on how AI is redefining client acquisition. Everybody knows most of this. I'll go very quickly through this because you probably saw it 50 times if you've been coming to my events and our events. Search is not just blue links. People are using AI to actually search and have conversations and talk about products and services and finding companies and all that stuff. So also 60% of Google searches are now 0 clicks, which means 0 click marketing is a thing. If you're following Rand Fishkin, he talks a lot about 0 click marketing. It's really interesting to see how things are shifty, but even though ChatGPT and Perplexity and for some reason I got muted here. Even though a lot of these models are being used by people to find companies, and 70% of B2B buyers are completing the whole journey, without contacting sales, we're also seeing that Google is getting better. Google traffic is continuing to grow, is not going anywhere. And you might see Google traffic slowing down on your website specifically, but overall, there's a lot of searches. There's a still huge amount of searches on Google. Google is shifting to becoming a full-on AI model with AI overviews, AI mode, and Gemini, but also Google's still 210 times bigger than ChatGPT in search. So all of that is, tough news, but also good news, because if anybody's coming from an AI model, they're closing at it 3 times as much, or 4 times, 5 times more than if they're closing from Google. And we've seen this on our clients, HubSpot portals, 4,000 visits, 42 leads, 1 client versus 90 visits, 2 leads, 1 client. So a lot less traffic, a lot higher conversion. Now, you still need to continue to track the visits, leads, and clients, but this is not the only need to think about, because 0 click marketing means a lot of people are not going to go to your website. A lot of people are not going to become a lead, and they're going to become a client. So believe it or not, you need to ask clients, how are you finding us? Remember when we used to ask that? Did you come from the yellow pages? Did you come from our ad on the newspaper? Did you hear us on the radio? Well, nowadays we need to do a similar situation. Understand where your clients are coming from, because they might be having a continuous conversation. They found you on AI, they searched you, they did all the research, they bought the product, and you never knew it because they never got to your website. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We're going to talk about how to track that today. Now, if you're only thinking about discovery, you're missing one of the biggest opportunities and the bigger reasons why you should be tracking AI brand visibility is because AI is changing the whole buyer's journey, not just discovery. People might be about to sign a contract and they will go to ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, whatever, Gemini, even there, and say, do I really need to work with this company? Are there any competitors that are better? Are there better prices out there? Literally, they could be disqualifying you by just doing a conversation with AI. So even more important than discovery, more important than people finding you, more important than lead sources, like those were the most important things before. is how to control the narrative on AI of your brand, not just people finding you an AI brand visibility for specific searches so people can have the conversations and find you, but also how do you show up on AI and how are you controlling the narrative on AI for your brand? And the reason why we got really into this is because by running AEO audits, we found that people's companies' narratives were being managed by old content. In this case, 11-year-old content, a video, a video on YouTube with a webinar. Again, very meta today. A webinar from 11 years ago was controlling the narrative on this brand. They were having the wrong name of the company, the wrong people, the wrong products, the wrong pricing, all distributed throughout AI because AI thought that that video was more trusted than their website, their very own website. We'll talk about that. That means AI doesn't decide to create the answers from your website only. It's your websites, it's blogs, it's videos, it's webinars, it's social media, it's reviews, it's mentions. It's a multi-channel strategy. We'll talk about that and why video is great for this. Also, people sometimes say, well, my clients don't find me on ChatGPT. Again, that's irrelevant because they could be having a whole sales journey in AI, even if they already found you. But also they could be having AI conversations even without noticing. And we are seeing this with Google. People are Googling, they go into AI overviews. AI overview turns you into AI mode. AI mode is taking a lot of context from all your Google experience, and then you're in Gemini automatically. So even without noticing, a lot of your clients, a lot of your ideal clients are going to be fed into AI models like that. Also, Gemini is a good example. Is not just on search, is on your email, is on your slides, is on everything you use. And this is not just for Google people. If you are in corporate and you're using Microsoft products, Copilot is everywhere too. And a lot of those people don't even have the ability to use other models because it's, corporate cancels the access to ChatGPT or Claude or things like that. But they can use Copilot because it's part of their company rules. So if your clients are in corporate and you want them to find you, you need to optimize for Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, by the way. So long story short, video, it's an incredible content engine fuel because you can take one webinar, which is what we're talking about today, and turn it into a blog article, into clips you're going to post in a bunch of different social networks, LinkedIn, Reddit conversations. You can use it on YouTube, which is becoming a lot of the trusted sources are YouTube, Reddit, and all those things. I'll show you a graphic in a second, but that's what's all about, creating consensus around the internet. And we'll talk about why in a second, but webinars, video in general about webinars are an incredible way to create a lot of these assets that you need in order to create that content without having to do them all one by one. That's why we're here. You can reuse a lot of that and run a whole loop on your marketing with one webinar, and we'll talk about that. So, answer engine optimization is visibility, trust, and consistency across the internet. So, the question is, how do we influence AI? The first thing we need to know is that AI doesn't just ask the question that you ask to its database. First of all, AI doesn't know anything. AI is pretty much an auto correct on steroids. It just auto populates words, whatever the next word makes more sense from the experience that it has in there. And sometimes it goes searches on the internet. Another thing it's important to understand is that when you ask Google, what's the capital of France? It'll say Paris because it's on a database. AI doesn't work that way. It'll say, okay, from all the words that are what is the capital in France, what other words show up probabilistically, most of the time with these words. That's kind of how AI, it's an oversimplification, of course, but that's the first thing to know. AI doesn't know anything. That's why when you ask AI one thing and you ask it 100 times, the answer could be 100 times different. The second part is it also creates subqueries. So it does query fan out, which means if I ask, how do I run a marathon in November in New York City, it'll say, It'll go internally and say how to run a marathon. It'll say what products do I need to run faster? What shoes are better for marathons in the winter? What's the weather of New York City in November? Literally, it'll ask sub queries and then it'll try to find consensus to build an answer. That's why when you ask something to AI, you see little chunks of information with a source of that. So what we're trying to do is to become part of those little chunks with the source, a mention and a citation. We'll talk about those two. Now, the problem with this is that most people think that they can solve this problem by going to AI and saying, write me 200 articles about this topic. And yes, we will use AI to accelerate, to amplify, to multiply all of our efforts. But AI content not only is not the answer, but it's the problem that everybody's creating from themselves. Search Engine Land actually run a whole study group. Let me show you here. There's an experiment, and I'm going to share the link right here. I'm also sharing the link about Google being 210 times bigger right here. And they run this experiment where they said, okay, we're going to post 2,000 articles. And these 2,000 articles are going to be AI generated. Let's see how it goes. It grew incredibly, and then it died completely because not only Google and AI models are becoming better and better at recognizing AI slop, but also they know they can generate that content immediately. It's so easy for them. It's like, hey, can I generate with my own, database or whatever it is, this piece of content? Yeah, what's valuable about this? What's different that I don't have about this? So if you're not sharing human experiences, real experiences, your expertise, your opinion, the way you do things, the way you help your clients, the way your product is specific for your clients, and how your clients are talking about like all the real things about your company, you're going to be missing out because you're going to be among the sea of crap of people creating crap on the internet from AI models. That's why we created the human to answer framework for AEO, which is not about tricking AI. It's not about creating things from AI. It's about capturing reality. So the one thing you need to focus on, if you're going to focus on one thing in the next 6 months and in the next year, is on capturing reality on how you work with your clients, what you do for your clients, how you do things differently, what they say. If you are a physical type of it in real life kind of business, you can show, I don't know, a house being constructed or a seawall being put up. Like do a recording of that real thing and showcase it out there. Images, videos, video as much as you can. If not, webinars are the best way to do it. Webinars, and that's what we're talking about today, are the easiest way to capture reality. I'm a human being talking to human beings. You ask me questions, I answer them. All of that becomes part of the fuel of your AEO strategy. Then you take those questions and answers, you atomize it into multiple pieces of content. We'll talk about that. You distribute it everywhere, and then you earn trust from AI models that will find consensus in multiple places about what you do, how you do it, what your expertise is, EEAT, right? What Google has been asking us to do for the longest time. And that allows you to amplify it and optimize it over time. Entities are important. Your nouns. Nextiny Marketing is the name of my company. Gabriel Marguglio is my name. Marketing services is what we do. We specialize in AEO and SEO. And some people ask questions like how webinars help with AEO. These entities, these nouns, and the connections between these entities is very important. So when you're writing all these pieces of content, when you're talking about it, when you're capturing reality, make sure these entities are connected. The author of the blog needs to have a bio. Those are part of what we do on an AEO audit, is to understand if these entities are connected on your website, on your social posts, on your YouTube channel, on your videos. Are you sharing your videos with schema, which is the code in the background of your website? So those entities are connected and it's easy for AI models on Google to read it. And then the other thing is you're already doing this. Most of the time, the best content or the best content for your company already exists. It's webinars you're already running, videos you're creating internally, training conversations you're having with your employees, with your clients, customer questions from customer service, tickets or sales conversations that you're having, the recordings of your sales conversations, all of that. These are all real examples of how people are talking to people in your company. Just capture this as much as possible and think they ask you answer. If you don't know the book, read it. It's amazing. They have a new version now. They ask you answers about answering your ideal client's questions. Do this, capture that reality, run those loops with the human to answer framework, and you'll get better and better and better. Why multi-channel? We talked a little bit about consensus. We talked about how AI forms those answers from multi-channels. They want consensus. They want to find things that are similar across the internet and understand that things are real. That's why they're trusting Reddit. They're trusting YouTube videos. Videos are better to trust, easier to trust because they're harder to fake. A blog is easier to fake. What I say on my website is easier to fake. But if you're a local business, what's on the Chamber of Commerce website is not easier to fake. So what we've seen is that for local AEO, for example, people need to care about Chamber of Commerce websites and things like that that you might not have thought about in the past, but now they're critical because AI is gonna trust the Chamber of Commerce website more than your website. So think about those things. And again, YouTube, Reddit, and LinkedIn are the easiest way to do this. I have an actual article on how to use LinkedIn and Reddit for AEO. I'm going to share it right here. And again, Reddit, everybody asks me, how do we do Reddit when Reddit is not supposed to be self-promotional and this and that? You can be non-self-promotional. You can help people. You can go and without mentioning your name and your company name and all these things, go mention the entities of the things that you do, become a source. And then when people ask, you can share an article, you can share a link. And those are great ways to actually do this with Reddit. And we are seeing this on the citations being used to build the answers of the questions that we're asking, the prompts that we're asking continuously. On the left, you see an example of multiple, you see a Reddit conversation we started, a Reddit video, a YouTube video, and then our website as part of the whole homepage of Google and what is being used to build the answers for other models. And then we're seeing the same sources trickling down into Perplexity and Gemini and ChatGPT. Any questions, guys? Again, the most important thing, if you're going to take one thing today, is start capturing the expertise only you have. AI wants to know what your opinion is, what you know, your expertise, your experience. They want to trust you by seeing that you're doing things different than the other people, not just copy pasting the same content over and over again. So if you're a marketing person, or if you are a marketing person, and you're going to AI and you're saying, write me an article about this, and you're letting AI do the work, and you're like, oh, I feel so great. I posted another blog. Let's go to social media and promote it and say, social media, create me a social post for this blog. If you're only asking that question, you're not only missing the point on how to use AI, but also you're hurting your SEO and AEO, and you're hurting the ability of AI to trust you in the long run. So your number one goal is to capture as much as possible so then you can put that information into AI and actually create the content from there. And we'll talk about that next. So how do we do this? So first of all, video is great because it can be trusted. There's a face, there's a voice, there's expertise, there's emotion, there's visual aspects. These are all things that are harder to fake, and AI will trust them more. But it's important that you use the transcripts. So all the transcripts of everything needs to be there, and you need to fix them and all that stuff. We'll talk about that in a second. So SEO was a lot about text and keywords and metadata. AEO is about answers and entities and expertise and multimedia signals. Video is an important trust signal. Human authenticity is going to be critical for AEO. So AI loves videos because of the transcripts, because of the chapters, because of the spoken keywords, the entities mentioned, the questions being answered in reality. So All of this is important, and transcripts are critical. So make sure that when you do videos, you put the video on YouTube, the transcript is done and it's corrected. You put the video on Wistia, which is a great, amazing video marketing tool that does analytics and allows you to do a lot of great things, but it also integrates beautifully with HubSpot. So you can put your videos on Wistia. The transcript is created in Wistia. You can go fix it. And then that becomes part of the schema that goes on your website. So when you embed a video from Wistia on your website, the schema is done automatically for you. The code in the back that tells Google and AI, this is a video, this is the title, this is the description, these are the keywords, and this is the transcript, is all done for you. Beautiful thing, if you're using HubSpot video, does the same thing. Make sure you go and add the SEO description, you add the title that is entity rich to that video. And when you embed it, all of that is going to become part of the schema on the website automatically. Pro tip, make your videos visible for AI. So make sure that transcript becomes part of that schema model. And again, video sends EEAT signals, which is what we were talking about: expertise, experience, authentic, trustworthiness, and authoritativeness. So you're an authority, you are trusted, you're showcasing expertise and experience, real stuff that will help you. And being human is the best way to do that. So how do you do this? We talked about this a little bit already. Is like you can take a webinar, this webinar, you take the video, you take the slides, you take the transcript, and you can turn that immediately with ChatGPT, Claude, or Perplexity, any model, Gemini, into a blog. You put all that information with a prompt that says, make sure you optimize for humans, for AEO, for SEO. I want to touch on these specific topics, but take the webinar and turning into a blog about this specific topic, which means if you run your webinars as specific topics that are part of your marketing strategy, which again, at the end of the day, you're fueling your webinars as part of your marketing strategy, which brings more people to engage with you, which allows you to create better content. And every time you run a webinar, you're getting better and better content. So you're running loops. Every time you run a webinar is a loop. You run a webinar, you learn from the webinar, people ask you questions, you create a blog, you create social posts, you create clips that go on YouTube, on Reddit, on LinkedIn. You get feedback from all those people on all those social networks and forums that you can reuse into the next webinar, which will allow you to run a better webinar, which will allow you to create better questions and answers, and the loop starts again. That's what loop marketing is all about. The reason why we are calling it human to answer is because it starts, in our opinion, from capturing reality. And that is the most critical part of the puzzle. So where can you find this? Webinars are the best way. And if you're running public webinars, this is great, like this one. But also you can do your private webinars internally for clients, or internal trainings for employees. You can run video series that you do without being on camera with other people. You can do, again, like I said, internal team meetings or internal client meetings, as long as you either make it public, so there's no private information for them, or it's something that you are doing, generally speaking, to multiple clients. You can use all of those to create the content that you need. And then you need to use the right prompts to make sure that those prompts allow you to create the content. So you can define the goal and the audience, you can specify the tone, you can provide brand voice. All of these things are much easier if you say, here's the transcript of my webinar, here's the slides of my webinar, here's also some blog articles that I've written already. So use this as my voice. Here's a document of my voice if you have that. But this is my prompt. This is the one that I use. As you can see, I'm telling ChatGPT, you're an expert at doing this, at turning, spoken transcripts into high quality, engaging content. And I want you to optimize this for human flow, for SEO, for AEO, for editorial polish. I want the final output to be the blog. I want a polished blog, but I want all the SEO and AEO metadata. I want it all to be generated directly. And then you iterate, you make sure, like I was showing here, you make sure that you tell rank this for humans, AEO, and SEO, and tell me what could be done better. And you make it iterations, iterations, iterations. I'm going to give you one of my pro tips. When you do this, and this is long pieces of content, more pillar content, right? And I'll answer your question, Alex, in a second. So when you do this, sometimes AI becomes, I call it, becomes lazy. It's like a person that had been working for a long time. You keep asking and asking, make it better, make it better, make it better. The easiest way to kind of get to the next level of that piece of content is to take the final product or almost final product and either use a different clean instance of ChatGPT to actually say, hey, what do you think about this piece of content? I'm trying to write it for this and this and that. Give me a feedback. It kind of restarts the tokens in the conversation. That's because of limitations in AI that are too technical to talk about today. Or you put it on Claude. I do that all the time. I put AIs against each other to say, hey, I created this with ChatGPT. What do you think? Tell me more. And you'll get better content over time. Alex said I would make sure that everybody knows that they're going to be broadcast for the internal stuff. It is going to content that help. Of course, if you're going to be, you're not going to be sharing personal information from internal meetings, and you're not going to be sharing customer information if you're having a customer meeting. One of the things we've done in the past is we have a meeting with a client, we record the meeting. The meeting was great. It was a sales meeting, actually. We sold a client on a specific solution using Service Hub and the customer agent, and it was an internal solution. And we explained it, did a demo, and I'm like, oh, this was such a great meeting. I wish and then it was like, what am I doing? I can just literally take the snippets of me explaining it, remove the person, take the transcript, remove the person from the transcript, use this, and we created a blog that explains how we do this for companies that need this with this challenge. That is something you can do without even talking to the person about it, because the person will never become part of the public piece of content, and the person information is never shared. We're talking about a generic thing. If you're, of course, check with your legal team, check with the HR. Whatever you're going to do with recording clients or recording employees is something that you need to decide. But yeah, thank you, Alex. You you're not going to share people's faces or what they say if they didn't know they were in a public situation, for sure. Great point. So again, then you turn the webinar into a blog, and you feed the transcript, you go through the process that I just talked about, and then you turn that video into social media posts. Once you have the blog, first of all, you share the webinar, or you share clips from the webinar. A very easy ways to create clips is videos. You can put them on Wistia, and you can use the editor or the clip part, the remix tool in Wistia. All of them amazing, allows you to create a lot of different clips with transcripts and everything that you can use on social. HubSpot has its own remix tool that allows you to do multiple things, but one of the things that it does is it turns videos, long form videos, into short clips. All of this is important because you can just get those question and answers from internally the webinar and turn each one of those into a clip, and then turn each one of those clips into a social post with a question and an answer, which is very, very good for AEO. Post those on LinkedIn, post those on YouTube, create conversations on Reddit, which is a little bit different. I share that document. And then that creates the multi-channel strategy just from one webinar, and keep running those loops. Every time you run a webinar, you do that again. You create a blog article, you create all the blogs that I'm sharing today are blogs that were created from webinars, every single one of them. For example, this is one about how to run your own AEO audit. We run a webinar on it. You'll see the example right there, shows you the webinar, some little videos, all of that is shared directly right there. So how do you optimize the videos? We talked about, how to use transcripts, but then also make sure you use clear questions, you use the entities, you talk about examples, you share your point of views. This is not a generic, you don't want to be a robot sharing generic thing, because they can find the generic thing on AI, and AI knows that You can create it with AI. These are examples of things we have done. The articles I'm sharing are examples of things. They all share what we've been doing for ourselves, for our clients. I'm going to share some case studies that tell you exactly what happened. Share as much as possible because that's what AI wants and that's what people want, to understand why you are different, why your company is different. So the clear takeaways, make sure you use chapters if you can on YouTube, on Wistia, you can do that. That separates the content. All of that gives structure, and then use schema to make sure that the schema is telling AI, this is a video, this is the title, this is the description, this is the transcript, like we talked about before. Like I said, if you use HubSpot Video or if you use Wistia, tools like that create the schema for you. Um, AI is using video as a trusted source all the time. If you haven't seen this before, go Google things, check the Google AI overview. Google AI overviews is one of my best tools, one of my favorite tools to test if we're doing things right, because it's the fastest AI model. It's showing up immediately. You post something on Reddit, it becomes part of the answer the next day. Sometimes in hours, I post a YouTube video and the YouTube video becomes the trusted source for AI models on Google AI overviews. And then over time, you see it showcased on Perplexity, Gemini, and ChatGPT. Usually, Gemini is the first one because it's Google. Google is so fast; it's unbelievable. We used to wait 6 months for SEO to show up. Now we can do it in a day, in hours. Perplexity second, sometimes Claude later, and then I'm going to say ChatGPT is the last one. Sometimes ChatGPT is showing old content months later, which is super frustrating, but it is what it is. And ChatGPT has I love ChatGPT as a tool. I don't love it as a AI brand visibility because they're usually behind. So a lot of our clients are like, oh yeah, this is happening with Gemini. What happened with ChatGPT? And it's like ChatGPT is still showing something from a million years ago. And that has a lot to do with the way the model works and the way the model updates. I feel like that's going to change over time, but we've seen it lagging usually way behind the other ones. And that's the other reason why other models are also growing so much, like Claude and Gemini. Gemini is definitely getting better and better and better. 6 months ago, I would have said Perplexity is one of my favorite because it became the search engine of the AI world. But now Google is the search engine of the AI world, and they fixed all their things, and the Google AI overviews are amazing. So we're seeing that over and over again. Videos are used as sources. And again, the Google search is now an AI model. So AI overviews and the Google results are all showing this over and over again. So don't guess, test all these things. Use the HubSpot AEO grader, which is a great tool to actually understand, what's showing up. But even better than the AEO grader, which I'm going to share right here, I'm going to share HubSpot AEO tools article we wrote. Use the HubSpot AEO tool, and I'm going to share the HubSpot sensor tool. Sensor allows you to understand when the models are volatile. So if you see changes in the model, it allows you to see if it was a change from something that you did versus something that the models are doing. So you want to measure all of this that you're doing with HubSpot AEO. There's a question from Taylor. Does anyone even really use Perplexity? I mostly hear about people using Gemini, Claude, or ChatGPT. I think it has to do a lot with industry and the type of people. This is a question like the other day, people were like, who's Googling things anymore? And I'm going to tell you something. There was a huge shift in Google searches, for example. This has to do with the Perplexity conversation. There was a huge shift because Google became really bad at AI and nobody was using Google. I wasn't using Google beginning of 2025. I was using ChatGPT for everything. And then I realized ChatGPT was lying to all of us about everything. So we're like, hold on, maybe I like this database that tells me as much as possible the truth of things. So a lot of people are coming back from Google. The other thing that happened is like from the billions of searches that you get on a regular basis, we have had lost billions of searches, but then gained billions of other types of searches. So what's going to continue to happen is that these tools are all growing and getting better. And sometimes I'm going to be using more Google, and sometimes I'm going to be using more ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT for most things, but now I use Claude for most of the coding stuff, the CSS stuff, the schema stuff, because it's better at it. It checks the links. ChatGPT is like, I didn't even click on the link. I'm like, hold on, I gave you a link. That's why I gave you the link. That's what's going to happen with everybody. I know Perplexity, brought up the computer, which is you can use computer to manage a lot of things. A lot of these models are also coming up with browsers. So your question of who uses Perplexity is the same as anybody's question with browsers or search engines. In the past, we were like, who's using Bing? Who cares about Bing? Well, if you're optimizing for Google, you're optimizing for Bing. Or who's using Firefox anyways? Everybody's using Chrome. Well, if you're using optimizing for Chrome, you will probably look good in Safari or whatever. But look at it, check it, because maybe there's a huge opportunity that and your audience is on Perplexity and you suck at it. So if you could do something and track on it, that's great. Now, the second thing I want to say about Perplexity, and thank you, Taylor, for asking the question and for confirming that it was a good explanation. The second thing I want to say is that when you're doing AI brand visibility, you don't just want to look at one, because AI brand visibility is very probabilistic. And this is a conversation out there where people are even saying, well, you can't even track AI brand visibility because it's all a lie. If I ask the same question to ChatGPT 1,000 times, every time is a different answer. And yes, that is true. Everything is probabilistic with AI models, which doesn't mean you can't track it, because again, there's tools like HubSpot AEO that allow you to say, track these prompts, tell me how I'm showing up, and it'll say, you show up, like in this example, 35% of the time you show up, which means that HubSpot is going to every model, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini, and it's testing in every model where you show up. It's not telling you you're on position 2, like we used to do with Google, Google rankings, where you're like, oh, you're second for this keyword, you're third for that keyword, you're on the third page for that keyword, you need to optimize it. No, this means 35% of the time you show up as the answer. You get mentioned as the answer. And because of this probabilistic environment that we're running these tests, it's good to have multiple models to understand what's going up, what's going down, and to understand, how better data. So even though Perplexity might not be something that your clients see, or Claude might not be, or whatever, or maybe nobody uses ChatGPT anymore, it's important to understand if what you're doing is affecting different models. And actually, our next event we're going to run on the 29th is about that difference, how to optimize differently for these different models, because the probabilistic nature of AI models needs more data to understand what are the things we can do to increase the possibility, the probability of you showing up. This is not a science that we can say, oh, we'll put you in first position, we'll put you in second. You might not show up at all, and then you hit enter again, and you're first. So it's a probability of showing up. What we want to do as AEO, experts, is to increase that probability as much as possible, and then increase the control of the narrative when people are searching for branded, which is not tracked here because this is when people are mentioning you. So long story short, HubSpot AEO allows you to measure all of this. You can put your prompts. You can see sentiment score if you're like positively mentioned or negatively mentioned. And again, the difference between a mention and a citation, which is what I'm going to talk about in a second, is mention is someone searches for best HubSpot AEO agencies in the world, or best HubSpot AEO agencies for franchise businesses, which would be us. And it says next in marketing. And hopefully we're at the top most of the time. Hopefully we show up most of the time among the list. That's what we're trying to optimize for a mention. But we also want to optimize for citations, which is the link of the source where that information comes from, which could be a YouTube video, it could be a Reddit conversation. Hopefully, it's our website or something that people can engage with us and learn from us. So we get a link and we get a click, which is what we're trying to do, but not necessarily the only thing we're trying to do, because people will make decisions on their own with information they find on AI. Again, we're going to analyze prompts. You're going to be able to track your citations, which is the example of the Chamber of Commerce comes from this. We were doing local AEO audit for a client, and we saw that the Chamber of Commerce was showing up as one of the top citations. And we're like, hold on, what does this say about this company? It was the wrong name, the wrong information, the wrong address, everything was wrong. So again, understanding this will allow you to control the narrative as much as possible and increase the probability of AI brand visibility as much as possible. And again, HubSpot AEO gives you recommendations, which allows you to change things over time and make it grow over time, which is amazing to have a tool that tells you, go do this, put this on Reddit, create a YouTube video, create a page. And again, what's cool is that we have seen a correlation between AI brand visibility, visits, leads, and customers over time. And we wrote two case studies. One, a short-term case study with a client that we were increasing AI brand visibility, and a long-term 8-month case study for ourselves. I just shared both links where we're talking about how we actually, using webinars, which is what we are here for, using webinars, we increase visits, organic visits, direct visits coming from the webinars. All the links that I shared today, all those are specific visits that are coming as specific webinar campaign from these webinars, but then also all the content increased AI brand visibility and an increased business in general. That's what you want to track. You want to track the full picture of what's going on, not just visits and leads or AI brand visibility and visits or ranking on Google. You know what I mean? You want to track everything. So I just share those two case studies. The next thing is, this is an AEO checklist. I'm not going to talk about all these things, but I shared most of the articles today. I'm going to share the AI content trap. We talked a little bit about that. I'm going to share how to do schema right here. So everybody knows that. I share the AEO tools. I'm going to share the how AI is redefining client acquisition. And if you have any questions or need anything else, please let me know. But I would start here. Fix your SEO, implement schema, create structured data, define your entities, create real content, capture reality. If you can run a webinar every month, every quarter, and run these loops, this is the way to go, guys. So webinars are more than events. They are your AI content engine. AI rewards expertise, not content volume or the AI crap, AI slop that everybody's creating. Visibility comes from consistency across channels. Optimizing videos for human and AI is super important. And measuring AI, measure what AI says about you. And that's why you're going to use HubSpot AEO for AI brand visibility. And then you're going to test it yourself on models. You need to go and say, who is Gabriel Margoglio? Who is Next in the Marketing? What do they do? Do they really know AI? Do they really do this? Have they done it for their clients? Is this real? Go do it. You'll see what it says. Do it for yourself, and you'll understand what's missing, what the gaps are, and what to do next. So boom, guys, everybody, if you have any questions, let me know. Tell me how we did 1 to 10. 1, we sucked. 10, we did amazing, and you want to join the next one, which, by the way, I'm going to share the link right here. And also, I'm going to share all the recordings right here. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to help as much as possible. I want to be a resource for you. Connect with all these events that we're doing. Thank you again for everything you do for the community, joining these events. I know everybody's busy, taking time of your busy days to join and ask great questions and be part of the community. We want to do the same. Join us on our next event. Check our latest recordings. I'm going to share the AEO guide again here, and I'm going to share the 50% AEO audit. If anybody's interested with this, I'm going to share my information again here. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me an email. I'm here to get help, guys. And again, I share the next event that we're having. We're going to be launching the next 4 events for August and September. September, we have Unbound. We're going to run a full Unbound series of events. It's going to be super, super cool. I'm going to be talking from Unbound and sharing stuff directly from there. If you're there, let's connect and let's see each other and hang out. The guide I just shared and the 50% off AEO audit. Any questions? I can stay a couple of minutes if you guys want, but I really want to thank you guys for joining today. Any questions? You want to share it on the chat? Anybody needs any help with any specifics? Please let me know. More than happy to help, guys. Connect with me. 10, 10, 10. You guys are amazing. Thank you for connecting today and for the great feedback. All right, everybody. If nobody has a question, you can always ask me async. More than happy to help. Connect on LinkedIn and we'll go from there. All right. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.